This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Cynthia Lyons, Naperville, Illinois. Beowulf, translated by Francis Barton Gamere, Section 25. Under harness his heart then is hit indeed by sharpest shafts, and no shelter avails from foul behest of the hellish fiend. Him seems too little what long he possessed, greedy and grim, no golden rings he gives for his pride. The promised future forgets he and spurns, with all God has sent him. Wonder wielder of wealth and fame, yet in the end it ever comes that the frame of the body fragile yields, fated falls, and there follows another who joyously the jewels divides, the royal riches, nor recks of his forbear. Ban then such baleful thoughts, Beowulf, dearest, best of men, and the better part choose. Prophet eternal, and temper thy pride, warrior famous, the flower of thy might lasts now a while, but ere long it shall be that sickness or sword thy strength shall minish, or fang of fire, or flooding billow, or bite of blade, or brandish spear, or odious age, or the eye's clear beam wax dull and darken. Death even thee in haste shall overwhelm, thou hero of war. So the Ring-Danes these half-years 100 I ruled, wielded 'neath welkin and warded them bravely, from mighty ones many o'er middle earth, from spear and sword, till it seemed for me no foe could be found under fold of the sky. Lo, sudden the shift, to me seated secure came grief for joy, when Grendel began to harry my home, the hellish foe. For those ruthless raids, unresting, I suffered heart sorrow heavy. Heaven be thanked, Lord eternal, for life extended, that I on this head all hewn and bloody, after long evil, with eyes may gaze. Go to the bench now, be glad at banquet, warrior worthy. A wealth of treasure at dawn of day be dealt between us. Glad was the Geats' lord, going betimes to seek his seat as the sage commanded, afresh as before, for the famed in-battle, for the band of the hall was a banquet dight nobly anew. The night helm darkened, dust o'er the drinkers. The doughty ones rose, for the hoary-headed would hasten to rest. Aged Scylding and eager the Geat, shield-fighter sturdy, for sleeping yearned. Him wander-weary, warrior guest, from far a hall-thane heralded forth, who by custom courtly cared for all needs of a thane, as in those of old days warrior wanderers wont to have. So slumbered the stout heart. Stately the hall rose gabled and gilt, where the guests slept on, till a raven black the rapture of heaven blithe heart boded. Bright came flying, shine after shadow, the swordsmen hastened, athelings all were eager homeward, forth to fare, and far from thence the great-hearted guest would guide his keel. Bade then the hardy ones Hrunting be brought to the son of Ecglaf. The sword bade him take excellent iron, and uttered his thanks for it. Quoth that he counted it keen in battle, war-friend winsome, with words he slandered not edge of the blade. 'Twas a big-hearted man, Now eager for parting and armed at point, warriors waited, while went to his host that darling of Danes, the doughty atheling, to high seat hastened, and Hrothgar greeted. Beowulf spoke, bairn of Ecgtheow: "Lo, we seafarers say our will, far come men, that we fain would seek Hygelac now. We here have found hosts to our heart. Thou hast harbored us well. If ever on earth I am able to win me more of thy love, O Lord of men, aught anew than I now have done, for work of war I am willing still. If it come to me ever across the seas, that neighbor foemen annoy and fright thee, as they that hate thee erewhile have used, thousands then of thanes I shall bring, heroes to help thee. Of Hygelac I know, ward of his folk, that, though few his years, the Lord of the Geats will give me aid by word and by work, that well I may serve thee, wielding the war-wood to win thy triumph, and lending thee might when thou lackest men. If thy Hrethric should come to court of Geats, a sovereign's son, he will surely there find his friends. A far-off land each man should visit who vaunts him brave." Him then answering, Hrothgar spake: "These words of thine the wisest God sent to thy soul. No sager counsel from so young in years ere yet have I heard. Thou art strong of main, and in mind art wary, art wise in words. I ween indeed, if ever it hap that Hrethel's heir by spear be seized, by sword grim battle, by illness or iron, thine elder and lord, people's leader, and life be thine, no seemlier man will the sea-Geats find at all to choose for their chief and king. For horde-god of heroes, if hold thou wilt thy kinsman's kingdom, thy keen mind pleases me the longer the better, Beowulf loved. Thou hast brought it about that both our peoples, sons of the Geat and Spear-Dane folk, shall have mutual peace, and from murderous strife, such as once they waged, from war refrain. Long as I rule this realm so wide, let our hoards be common, let heroes with gold each other greet o'er the gannet's bath, and the ringed prow bear o'er rolling waves tokens of love. I trow my landfolk toward friend and foe are firmly joined, and honor they keep in the olden way. To him in the hall then Halfdane's son gave treasures 12, and the trust of earls bade him fare with the gifts to his folk beloved, hail to his home, and in haste return. Then kissed the king of kin renowned the Scyldings' chieftain, that choicest thane, and fell on his neck. Fast flowed the tears of the hoary-headed, heavy with winters. He had chances twain, but he clung to this, that each should look on the other again, and hear him in hall. Was this hero so dear to him, his breast's wild billows he banned in vain. Safe in his soul a secret longing, locked in his mind, for that loved man burned in his blood. Then Beowulf strode, glad of his gold gifts, the grass-plot o'er, warrior blithe, the wave-roamer bode, riding at anchor, its owner awaiting. As they hastened onward, Hrothgar's gift they lauded at length. 'Twas a lord unpeered, every way blameless, till age had broken. It spareth no mortal his splendid might. Came now to ocean the ever-courageous hardy henchmen, their harness bearing, woven war-sarks. The warden marked, trusty as ever, the earl's return. From the height of the hill no hostile words reached the guests as he rode to greet them, but welcome he called to that Weder clan as the sheen-mailed spoilers to ship marched on. Then on the strand with steeds and treasure and armor their roomy and ring-dight ship was heavily laden. High its mast rose over Hrothgar's hoarded gems. A sword to the boat-guard Beowulf gave, mounted with gold. On the mead bench since he was better esteemed, that blade-possessing heirloom old. Their ocean keel boarding, they drove through the deep and Daneland left. A sea-cloth was set, a sail with ropes, firm to the mast. The flood timbers moaned, nor did wind over billows that wave-swimmer blow across from her course. The craft sped on, foam-necked it floated forth o'er the waves, keel firm-bound over briny currents, till they got them sight of the Geatish cliffs, home-known headlands. High the boat, stirred by winds, on the strand updrove. Helpful at haven the harbour guard stood, who long already for loved companions by the water had waited and watched afar. He bound to the beach the broad-bosomed ship with anchor bands, lest ocean billows that trusty timber should tear away. Then Beowulf bade them bear the treasure, gold and jewels. No journey far was it thence to go to the giver of rings. Hygelac Hrethling, at home he dwelt by the sea-wall close. Himself and clan, haughty that house. A hero the king, high the hall, and Hygd, right young, wise and wary, though winters few in those fortress walls, she had found a home, Hereth's daughter. Nor humble her ways, nor grudged she gifts to the Geatish men of precious treasure. Not Thrith's pride showed she, folk-queen famed, or that fell deceit. Was none so daring that durst make bold, save her lord alone. Of the liegeman dear, that lady full in the face to look, but forged fetters he found his lot, bonds of death, and brief the respite. Soon as they seized him, his sword doom was spoken, and the burnished blade a baleful murder proclaimed and closed. No queenly way for woman to practice, though peerless she, that the weaver of peace from warrior dear by wrath and lying his life should reave. But Hemming's kinsmen hindered this. For over their ale men also told that of these folk horrors fewer she wrought, onslaughts of evil after she went, gold-decked bride, to the brave young prince, Atheling haughty, and Offa's hall, o'er the fallow flood at her father's bidding, safely sought where since she prospered, royal, throned, rich in goods, fain of the fair life fate had sent her, and leal in love to the lord of warriors. He of all heroes I heard of ever, from sea to sea, of the sons of earth, most excellent seemed. Hence Offa was praised for his fighting and feeing by far-off men. The spear-bold warrior, wisely he ruled over his empire. Ilmer woke to him, help of heroes, Hemming's kinsman, grandson of Garmund, grim in war. Hastened the hardy one, henchmen with him, sandy strand of the sea to tread, and widespread ways. The world's great candle, sun shone from south. They strode along with sturdy steps to the spot they knew, where the battle king young, his burg within, slayer of Ongentheow, shared the rings, shelter of heroes. To Hygelac Beowulf's coming was quickly told, that there in the court the clansmen's refuge, the shield companions sound and alive, hail from the hero play homeward strode. With haste in the hall by highest order, room for the rovers was readily made. By his sovereign he sat, come safe from battle, kinsman by kinsman. His kindly lord he first had greeted in gracious form with manly words. The mead dispensing came through the high hall Hereth's daughter, winsome to warriors, wine cup bore to the hands of the heroes. Hygelac then his comrade fairly with question plied in the lofty hall, sore longing to know what manner of sojourn the sea-geats made. What came of thy quest, my kinsman Beowulf, when thy yearnings suddenly swept thee yonder, battle to seek o'er the briny sea? Combat in Heorot? Hrothgar, couldst thou aid at all the honored chief in his wide-known woes? With waves of care my sad heart seethed. I sore mistrusted my loved one's venture. Long I begged thee by no means to seek that slaughtering monster, but suffer the South Danes to settle their feud themselves with Grendel. Now God be thanked that safe and sound I can see thee now. Beowulf spake, the bairn of Ecgtheow. 'Tis known and unhidden, Hygelac lord, to many men, that meeting of ours, struggle grim between Grendel and me, which we fought on the field where full too many sorrows he wrought for the Scylding victors, evils unending. These all I avenged. No boast can be from breed of Grendel any on earth, for that uproar at dawn from the longest lived of the loathsome race in fleshly fold. But first I went Hrothgar to greet in the hall of gifts, where Halfdane's kinsman high-renowned stood as my purpose was plain to him, assigned me a seat by his son and heir. The liegemen were lusty, my life days never such merry men over mead in hall have I heard under heaven. The high-born queen, people's peace-bringer, passed through the hall, cheered the young clansmen, clasps of gold, ere she sought her seat, to sundry gave. Oft to the heroes, Hrothgar's daughter, to earls in turn, the ale-cup tendered. She whom I heard these hall companions Freawaru name, when fretted gold she proffered the warriors. Promised is she, gold-decked maid, to the glad son of Froda. Sage this seems to the Scyldings' friends. Kingdom's keeper, he counts it wise the woman to wed so and ward off feud, store of slaughter. But seldom ever, when men are slain, does the murder speak sink but briefest while, though the bride be fair. Nor haply will like it the Heathobard lord, and as little each of his liegemen all, when a thane of the Danes in that doughty throng goes with a lady along their hall, and on him the old-time heirlooms glisten hard and ring-decked, Heathobard's treasure, weapons that once they wielded fair, until they lost it at the linden play, liegemen leal and their lives as well. Then over the ale on this heirloom gazing, some ash-wielder old, who has all in mind that spear death of men. He is stern of mood, heavy of heart. In the hero young tests the temper and tries the soul, and war-hate wakens with words like these: Canst thou not, comrade, ken that sword which to the fray thy father carried in his final feud, 'neath the fighting mask, dearest of blades, when the Danish slew him, and wielded the war-place on Withergild's fall, after havoc of heroes, those hardy Scyldings? Now the son of a certain slaughtering Dane, proud of his treasure, paces this hall, joys in the killing, and carries the jewel that rightfully ought to be owned by thee. Thus he urges and eggs him all the time with keenest words, till occasion